And we're back. It's the EGL Summoners Cup number 22 any rank tournament. And we are in the semi-finals right now, where it will be the two teams, Death Faction Multigaming and Evonity Gaming, facing off in this match, which will decide who gets to move into the finals to have a stab at our grand prize of 3,600 RP, plus triumphant rise for everyone who is in the winning team. My name is The Pash, as before. Casting with me is going to be Althazar.
I can almost swear that you almost said Evil Genius is that, but we shall move on from that. Never mind. Yes, indeed. We haven't, in fact, reached the scored positions, I believe.
We have, yes. Whoever is in the semi-finals.
Guaranteed that every member of these teams will gain RP of some form or another. It's now a matter of quantity. Quality of play equals quantity of RP. There you go. There's some maths for you. First ban comes out, Shyvana is taken away, so one of those heavy tanks with very considerable damage thanks to the bonus damage she can gain, which is maximum health from the mark of Flame Strike. It's very nice. By Kayle and Gragas, another one. So Kayle and Gragas obviously targeted at the middle lane. Kayle trying to stop engagements of Gragas, either good disengage as well or can engage fights well, which is also something Vi is wonderful at. Yasuo taken away. I think a lot of people fear Yasuo because you can build a composition around him. If you build a composition where you have someone like, I don't know, Alistar with the pulverized knockup, which can combine with the Last Breath, or a Janna who can do so with Howling Gale or such like, then he can be very, very scary, and people fear that. Kha'Zix, there are many reasons to fear Kha'Zix. His burst probably being the largest of those, and the fact that he can stealth in to lanes using his Void Assault, that's what it is. Yeah, Shadow Assault is Talon's ultimate.
Exactly.
They are similar enough. Never mind, first 3 picks have come out. We have, once again, a first pick Thresh coming out for DFM.
That's 4 games in a row, isn't it?
I believe so, yes. Thresh is apparently a hotly contested pick. We also see on the side of Evonity Gaming, we have the Elise, so very, very strong jungle presence, and the Uber Tank Mundo in top lane. Almost instantly counterpicked and locked in as well. Gregorian has locked in for DFM. That very nice and very trolley Trundle pick for that top lane.
Yeah, Trundle versus Mundo. I think we had a Trundle versus Renekton before, or was it actually Trundle versus Mundo?
That was round 2, I believe.
Yeah.
It was Trundle versus Renekton in the top lane.
Yes. So we see the same champions again. Trundle, Mundo, Renekton. Very common picks for top lane, and also in this tournament. Thresh, of course, once more. It's not going to be a Thresh Caitlyn, or it probably is not going to be, because Log is hovering over Caitlyn right now, while Celsior is potentially looking to pick up that Lulu, which we haven't seen today yet. We have seen a Soraka, Leona, Annie, Thresh. Lulu is something new.
Well, Leona, Annie, Thresh, as I said last game, is probably the trinity of supports right now. They are the most powerful. But if you can combine a Lulu ultimate with an enemy engage, then you are actually going to get a great counter engage yourself. And that Lulu is going to be locked in. So what she's going to be looking to do is, if DFM try to engage, then she's going to either instantly use the Whimsy to make something cute and fluffy instead of threatening, or she's going to utilize the wild growth on the teammate that's being engaged on to mitigate, to grant a good amount of bonus health, knock back targets, and allow for a good counter engage for them.
Nice.
Locke has also locked in the Caitlyn, so we aren't going to see, as you say, the Thresh Caitlyn is not going to be a lane we see again. Sephon is actually hovering over Ezreal. You don't see him too much in competitive play, and I'm just going to wait since he switched to Graves.
Yeah, we'll see what that turns out to be. We also saw Teemo getting hovered over, which I'm just going to mention because whoever hovers over Teemo obviously wants it to be mentioned. So there you go, hovering over Teemo. Very good. But it's going to be the Ziggs that's going to get picked up here for Death Faction Multi-Gaming, along with the Graves in the AD carry position. That's going to be a Graves Thresh bottom lane.
Thresh Graves could be very, very threatening. Of course, the burst coming out from a Graves at level 6 is very, very high if you can land a multi-hit or hit with multiple parts of the buckshot. Combine that with collateral damage, you are going to burst a lot. And considering we have the Death Sentence, play, and the box all on Thresh, that's good CC to allow Sephon to deal considerable damage throughout the fight and not have to just rely on the burst from buckshot collateral damage.
Yep, very much indeed. So there's the last pick for Evonity Gaming, and it's going to be the Nidalee for the middle lane. That completes our team compositions, and they are as such. Death Faction Multi-Gaming on the blue side, playing Trundle in the top lane, played by Desu Strike in the jungle. It's going to be DFM Blue Resort on Lee Sin. Middle lane Multiplexer on Ziggs. And in the bottom lane, it's going to be Sephon and Gregorian on Graves and Thresh.
Jumping across to the red side with Evonity Gaming, we have IWG Nerve in the top lane playing Dr. Mundo. We have Kenshonsky playing Elise for the jungle. We have Glitzy playing
actually, I've been notified. We have been calling him Glitzy, but it's actually Geetsy. So he specifically pointed that out to me. Yes, it's Geetsy.
Geetsy. Okay, so it's not Glitzy. There you go, Geetsy. Thank you for the correction, good sir. We shall continue. And lastly, we have Locke and Celsior in the bottom lane playing Caitlyn and Lulu.
Yes, very much indeed. Those are the picks. And now let's see what lane we should focus on the most. The first thing that comes to mind is probably Thresh plus Graves equals aggression.
We are using maths today, therefore it's right.
Yeah, QED.
Middle lane is going to be nothing. I'm going to say the middle lane is going to be nothing short of a poke war pre-6. I mean, Ziggs has the bouncing bombs, has the explosive minefield, great poke damage across the board. Geetsy has the ever-present javelin tosses. So unless Kinshonsky or Bluzor really comes in and focuses on that lane, aggression isn't going to be too likely. It's going to be just poking back and forth between those two. I would say the bottom lane, I would agree that bottom lane is going to be the most action-packed lane, because as you said, Thresh Graves is a very aggressive seeming lane. Graves has a fairly short attack range when it comes to AD carries, and he's also probably the single most tanky AD carry. I'm not going to say, I feel kind of wrong using the word tanky to define an AD carry, but there's no other way to define the True Grit passive that Graves has, giving him bonus armor and magic resist the longer he stays in a fight.
That's true. Also is able to dish out a lot of burst damage early on, so that's certainly something to watch out for. What is also something to watch out for is that Elise in the jungle. We've seen her banned away in every game up to now, and now she goes through. And there's a reason for banning Elise in the jungle, because she can be a very menacing jungler indeed, with her cocoons, and the way to get in with her repel.
Yep, both of those abilities, and her ability to steal away buffs, dragons, barons, and the like. Because if she goes into spider form, utilizes her venomous bite Q, which deals percentage missing health damage, follow that up with a smite, that's either going to secure a buff or steal something with great ease, so long as he doesn't get engaged upon before he can do that.
Yeah. So Elise did go through. What's also very interesting is there was no Kassadin ban, but also no Kassadin pick. So that basically takes away his 100% pick ban rate in this tournament.
The thing with Kassadin is he's not necessarily the be-all and end-all pick. there are certain picks that can do very well against you in the early game. Ziggs, I actually think, is one of the champions that's fairly good against a Castan, because when a Castan attempts to roam, the Ziggs can either hard push the mid lane or follow behind slightly, and if the fight starts to turn in their favour, throw out the Mega Inferno Bomb to actually pick up a kill from incredibly long range, then go back to lane and keep it pushing for when Castan gets back, putting him at a very significant disadvantage in his lane in terms of both farm and, of course, in terms of tower pressure.
Yeah. Nothing to add there, really. You're absolutely right. And we are in the loading screen now for the semi-final match between Death Faction Multigaming and Evonity Gaming. Not evil geniuses, even though they sound pretty similar. So, what do you think? Who will get the edge? Early on, then later on, then later on? Basically, what do these two teams need to achieve in order to take this game and advance to the finals?
I would say that in terms of sieging up, that Evonity Gaming on the red side have the advantage. They have the Javelin Tosses, they have Piltover Peacemakers, they have considerable poke as well coming out from Human Form Elite, Volatile Spiderling, and of course Neurotoxin as well can deal good ranged poke. Mondo does have the Infected Cleaver, and of course Lulu also has Little Lance, so their ability to siege is quite strong. But also the wave clear coming out from Death Faction is pretty strong as well. I mean, you've got Bouncing Bombs, great AoE clear. Explosive Minefield, great AoE clear. Buckshot coming out from Graves, great AoE clear. And if a fight goes down, then Mundo is going to suffer quite a lot early on because of the fact that Trundle can steal away so much of his tankiness.
Well, yeah, that's true. We are in the game now, and there's a pause immediately, so we're going to have some more time to talk about everything and all. So, yeah, what you have pointed out is very true. Lots of wave clear coming out of Death Faction. So, they both have the means to keep sieges up, and they also have the means to keep them away by clearing away the minions as soon as they arrive. But from whatever side it may be, whether it's them getting sieged or them sieging themselves. While on the side of Evonity Gaming, they have the means to poke a lot, especially with those Nidalee Spears, and then go in hard with the Wild Growth from Lulu, the Cocoon from Elise, you name it.
Yeah, the engagement is pretty strong both ways, but I'd say the most set-in-stone engage is landing a Cocoon on the red side, or landing a Death Sentence on the blue. So those two abilities are going to be key to engagements, unless a member of one team goes very, very low, and Blue Azor can maybe land a Sonic Wave on them.
It's certainly important to watch out, and especially focus on that bottom lane, which will probably be the most action-packed lane early on. In the middle lane, it's, yeah, as you pointed out, probably going to be a poke fest extravaganza, which can, of course, turn into kills if one of those two opponents sticks around for too long and lets themselves literally get poked to death. In the top lane, it's the Battle of the Tanks. Not very exciting. Those usually come into play later on when the fights do begin breaking out. But the jungle is going to be very interesting as well, because we've got both very mobile and efficient gankers with Lee Sin and Elise.
Lee Sin definitely comes into his own as a very, very strong jungler post-level 6 because of the inset combo. If he can ward jump beyond a target and then Dragon's Rage them straight back towards his team, that's almost a guaranteed kill unless his opponent can flash past him when he uses the Dragon's Rage, thus kicking him into safety. But that's a very, very skilled play, and if you can get that combo down and they can use it on a priority target like Locke or Geetsy, then that's going to be a lot of pain going down, and potentially a sign for the blue team to engage.
Neither team really looking for any aggressive plays early on. We do see Evonity Gaming starting off at their blue buff, and they're there in numbers, while Death Faction is waiting in the lane brush, potentially to catch someone off when they're on their way back to the lane. But I think nobody's going to walk through the river to get to lane, but rather use the Tri-Brush. Here, Death Faction actually makes the move as soon as blue buff spawns. It does look like they want it to be a drive-by smite. Oh, they actually catch Celsior with the Death Sentence. It's going very low. Flashes over the wall, but Sefun flashes after him and will be able to pick up the kill with another auto attack. Kanshansky manages to secure the blue buff, but Lulu is going down.
Yeah, flash burn from her as well. Sefun did burn his to pick up the kill, and it's not going to be an amazing amount of gold, but any early game advantage in this bottom lane where we have tagged for many interesting things to occur is definitely going to be a big advantage to have. It basically means that Sefun has to play a little bit more carefully just in case Kanshansky comes in, but otherwise it's an advantage in gold and he can gain a good advantage in farm. Then it means he's going to be ahead in items earlier on into the matchup.
Yeah, that's true. Did mean that Locke was alone for a while down there and susceptible to hooks, just like this one, which just landed onto him. But now Lulu is back, so he can be a little more confident. Of course, that means she's still level 1, which means that the only thing she has available right now is her Glitter Lance. No Whimsy, no shield, so it's going to have to stick around for a while and wait until level 2 before actually going any aggressive. But yeah, they made the most of it. First Blood did go over to Death Faction, and they have the gold lead right now. But it's not a literal death sentence for Evonity Gaming.
Where gold lead is only 300 and someone's calling GG, then they're probably not the right sort of person to be playing in ranked team. Things can turn around very, very quickly. As we saw in the last game, actually, of course, coming out from Numero Uno, they made a great turnaround play, and they ended up winning against Mr. P. We do actually see IWG Nerd dealing considerable damage in the top lane to Desert Strike, but he will be able to disengage without too much difficulty as they engage on Celsius and bottom lane.
That was a strange play from Gregorian. He manages to pull in the Lulu, but then mispositions his mouse for the flay, and yeah, not managing to flay her back means she will be able to survive just nicely.
Yeah, heavy damage being dealt to Celsius, of course. Lulu, not the tankiest early game champion, does have the Doran shield to try and compensate for that a little bit, but right now we are waiting to see where the junglers come down. Looks like both of them are going to head towards the top lane, Lee Sin going in towards IWG Nerd.
He's actually jumping in. Nerd in a lot of trouble. He's getting slowed down. He's getting bursted down. The Ignite is down as well. Has to force his flash to get back under his turret, but he will be able to survive this one.
Flash for an Ignite is always going to be taken by Death Faction. Means that Mundo is going to be easier to gank because we do actually see Kanshansky coming around, but no real engagement going down from him. Nothing more than a bit of poke.
Yeah, it's just gonna throw down those spiderlings, do a little bit of damage. And that's basically the end of that, as there's a 2v2 up in that top lane now. Both junglers are present, but none really willing to go in.
For a second it looked like that Bluezor had backed off, and that was almost a signal for go, go, go for Kanshansky. But, nope, decides to short the losses as the Death Sentence goes flying between Locke and Celsior. It's still a 2v2 in this.
Oh, they're now catching out Kanshansky here. He's going aggressive onto Lee Sin, but has to use the repel to get away. Nerd is now in their way, so Kanshansky will be able to survive. But due to both junglers constantly being in view in the top lane, that allowed the bottom lane for Evonity Gaming to push in. That allowed the middle lane for Death Faction to push in, because they didn't have to fear anything. They knew both junglers were up there.
Yeah, Evonity, of course, gaining that advantage. Caitlyn's attack range is a lot higher than Graves' so she can get that almost free poke. Sentence once again flying slightly wide of Locke, meaning they are going to clear this wave away from their turret, but they are still going to take heavy poke from doing so.
They are, yes, but the poke that goes down onto Locke is not to be underestimated here as well. He just keeps auto-attacking Sefun under his turret, keeping him low, keeping him away from the minions. But now it does look like Locke and Celsior will move away for the time being to place a ward in the river, just to be sure. And once that one is placed and they know, well, no jungler is there, they're going to move away just as quickly. Move back, I mean.
The concern here is, though, the fact that Bluezor doesn't need to come in from the river. He can ward jump over the wall, he can take the lantern from Thresh to come in as an engagement. That a ward in the river, while it is nice to have, is not going to be the only path that Bluezor can take to engage upon that lane.
No, that's very true. Lee Sin is obviously a very mobile ganker, and that is also why he is so strong as a ganker. What Stefan has to watch out for here in the bottom lane is, though, as soon as Locke hits level 6, he will be susceptible to an ace in the hole, and he does not necessarily want that to happen.
Oh, definitely not. He is probably not going to die from it. He does have his barrier up, of course. Konchonsky going very low from taking the blue buff for Geetsy. But that is going to be picked up, and we're going to see Konchonsky back out. More than likely to pick up a Spirit Stone and a couple of other things besides. Probably base boots, I would say. And we do, of course, see that. We also see a Doran's Blade being picked up by Konchonsky on that at least, so it makes sense though, because of course her sustain, while in spider form, is taking quite a lot of skittering frenzy, so...
Oh, Nerd actually going low up there in the top lane as Desu Strike goes aggressive onto him. Will be able to sustain himself back up with his ultimate, but Desu Strike still going aggressive. There are just too many minions to deal with right now. And Sefun going dangerously low in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Locke has now hit level 6, so if he wants to try and go for the ace in the hole, then he can. Gregorian is still fairly healthy though, so it's unlikely that she's actually going to be able to hit Sefun, and even less likely that she's actually going to end up killing him.
That is true, yes. He could potentially catch that bullet for him. But he still decides to stick around in that bottom lane with the low health that he has. So if they manage to seclude Gregorian from him, then they will potentially be able to pick up the kill. But here comes Lee Sin, waiting off to the side. There's the Lantern, he moves in, there's the hook onto Celsior, wonderfully executed! Celsior forced to use the wild growth, but there's the flash in from Lee Sin. No, actually it was an insect combo as he ward jumped to a ward, kicked them back into the Death Faction bottom lane, and so they are able to pick up the kill. Kill number 2, going over to Death Faction.
Yeah, there's a second kill picked up by Sefun as well. It's a lot of 2s right here. Second kill for Sefun, who is still in lane, just cleared out the wave. A little bit behind Locke on CS, but it's also 2 assists for Gregorian and 2 deaths for Celsior, which means he is going to fall behind in levels. However, almost a slight advantage for them. It means that Locke is going to be leveling up faster because less time on the spot.
Here comes Konchonsky up into the top lane. Desu Strike forced to flash away, but there's the repel. Tries to keep him away with a pillar, but he will go down here. No can do. First kill of the game goes over to Evonity.
Yep, first kill picked up by them. It did actually go onto Nerd, which means he is going to have a bit of an advantage in that lane, which is really what he needs, as we do see that Desu Strike is going for the early Blade of the Ruined King. A lot of poke going down across the middle lane. It's almost like for like, but Nidalee does actually have the advantage here because of course she has that heal. Jumping between human and cat form as the bomb actually flies over the heads of the minions from Multiplexer.
Here comes Konchonsky with the gank onto Multiplexer. Tries to throw down the Mega Inferno Bomb, but again, no can do. Another kill goes over to Evonity Gaming. Konchonsky showing up in 2 lanes in quick succession and getting kills in both.
Ganking by numbers by Konchonsky right here. Came in behind their opponent, landed CC, or just went straight into spider form. Burst down, walk out. Simple enough.
Simple enough indeed. So that puts the 2 teams back on even footing. There's still a 1,000 gold lead in favor of the, Evonity Gaming, but the hook lands onto Locke. Wild growth forced out of Lulu. Sifwood is actually going for the dive here. I'm not quite sure what he's doing. The turret will take him down. No, it will not. The ignite from Celsior will actually take him down. He really wanted to get that kill and paid for his life. Paid his life.
As you said, a little bit of over-aggression right there. Speaking of aggression, Nerd and Desu Strike being very aggressive towards each other. They are very low right now. Neither of them have their ultimates. They have actually recently burnt them. Meanwhile, Geetsy
Celsior in a lot of trouble. Gets caught out here by Gregorian and Bluezor. And here comes Locke trying to deal his damage. Konchonsky also showing up here. Lee Sin is able to pick up the kill onto the Lulu, but now they're going to go aggressive onto Gregorian here as well. Konchonsky dealing his damage. Will Gregorian be able to get back to his turret in time? Yes, he will. And here comes Geetsy from the middle lane. Will be able to land a spear? No, he will not. Just out of range, but Konchonsky is still going aggressive here. Misses the hook. So that will probably mean that Geesey will survive and Thresh will go down. Sefu now dueling her as well. Has to move back towards the turret, but gets closed in by 3 members of Evonity Gaming. They pick up 2 kills down there. No, 3 kills actually.
Yeah, great engagement. And once again, Konchomsky just being that massive presence. And maybe a little bit ambitious from him, of course, because Elise isn't exactly the tankiest early game champion.
Oh, Nerd going very low in the top lane, fighting against Desu's Strike. Has burned his ultimate, trying to sustain himself back up, but Desu's Strike uses his subjugate in response. He does manage to survive. Evonity Gaming, in the meanwhile, picks up the dragon for themselves, bringing up their gold lead to just about 3,000.
Ultimately, every fight in the top lane seemed to just be a burning of the R's, and then going back to fighting once again. Kills aren't really going to go down without jungle pressure just yet, as we saw from Konchomsky going in earlier on. It's taking quite a lot of damage, and he actually gets...
Oh, Sonic Wave lands onto Geetsy in the middle lane. Bluestar goes in, but he will just be able to heal himself back up. Mega Inferno Bomb attempted as well, not quite landing, so Geetsy will be able to walk away from this one with his life.
Meanwhile, Nerd really trying to push it in the top lane. Definitely doing considerable damage to the minions with his Burning Agony ability.
Here comes Lee Sin, though. He's going to move in, War Jump into his way. Dragon's Rage him back in the direction of his own turret. Nerd now has to pass through the minions and 2 members of Death Faction to get away. But look at that. He just barely takes any damage, and now Bluezor goes in and he actually turns the aggression around and almost takes him down. Nerd able to fend this 2v1 off with ease.
It does have that Sunfire Kick, which is great AoE damage, as we do actually see Bluezor attempt to re-engage just to be met with the sadism.
Yep, there it goes. Burns his ultimate. It's right back up to half health. And so both Lee Sin and Trundle have to move away as Konchomsky shows up on top as well. They're going to be able to pick up this top turret.
Yeah, first turret of the game will go to Evonity Gaming just before 14 minutes.
I'm actually curious if the bottom lane will be able to pick up the turret before the top lane can. It's going to be a close race. Top lane wins, but bottom lane wins too.
Exactly.
2 turrets picked up in relative rapid succession for Evonity Gaming as they barrel on ahead with their lead. Middle lane now getting aggressed upon here as well. Lee Sin have to show up there. Predating Strike in to keep Geetsy away from that one. This has gone quite low already.
Geetsy absolutely no fear right here. Does not feel at all worried about the potential engage coming out from Multiplexer. Konchomsky trying to go on Bluezor.
Bluezor getting caught out here by the cocoon. Has to flash away from that one. Here comes Desu's Strike trying to deal the aggression onto Nerd. But he just throws down the cleaver, being annoying as a Mundo normally is. Geetsy now moving in from middle lane as well, landing the spear. There they go onto Desu Strike, who has moved in a little bit too heavily. Lee Sin now jumping in as well. Mega Inferno Bomb getting thrown out here by Multiplexer. Not quite enough to take anyone down. Rolling Bomb. Bouncing Bomb not quite enough to take down Konchomsky either. And so Evonity Gaming are able to move away from this one. No, nicely dodged with the repel. And here comes Locke, able to pick up the Ziggs. In the meanwhile, Nidalee is also able to pick up Trundle. And now Lee Sin is going to be the last target. And he runs into Celsior. And that'll be another kill for Evonity Gaming.
And that was exactly what Evonity Gaming needed to do right there. Push their advantages. They have turrets. They can roam. And they did exactly that. Once again, Gregorian trying to defend his turret, but I think it's in vain when you've got 3 heavy damage dealers, well, 2 heavy damage dealers and a Lulu present. Down goes the turret, and Evonity Gaming keep on pushing. Sefoon does manage to get a responsory turret, but it is only an outer in the bottom lane, whereas the inners are being pressured, especially in this middle lane. That's going to go down as well, advancing a gold lead of almost 8,000, only 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, almost 60 minutes of the game. The gold lead has barreled up for Evonity Gaming. They are in full control of this game right now. Have been making the plays in the past few minutes, and Death Faction seemed a little helpless. They had the early edge in that bottom lane, but they were unable to make anything tangible out of it. Game slid back into Evonity Gaming's hands, and now we are sitting here at a 7,600 gold lead for them. And it's going to be interesting to see if Death Faction can turn this one around.
I almost feel like Geetsy should almost be a Teemo player. Have you seen how many traps are in that middle lane?
Yeah, that's true.
So many traps. It's a shame they can all be seen.
Aww. Yeah.
Multiplex is going to clear out the minion wave, stop that from pushing any further, but at the moment, Evonity Gaming don't really need the middle lane to be pushing too much. They've already taken that inner turret. if they focus their power elsewhere, they can probably take down more inner turrets in the next 90 seconds or so. Taking the inner turret in the bottom lane would be very good for them, as you can see, just under 90 seconds until the dragon respawns. Evonity did take that first time around. Do please see the Vigor and Gunno Bomb coming across from the Ziggs to clear out the medium wave mid and give him a little bit more gold when he returns to the base. He does in fact pick up himself a blasting wand.
Yes, 3 outer turrets down for Death Faction, 1 inner in form of their middle inner, which is probably the most important turret to lose. This just means that Evonity Gaming can focus on the other lanes, as you have pointed out, and take those turrets as well. Now, Nerd is pushing up that top lane. We do see Elise and Caitlyn moving down towards the bottom lane, potentially push that one out as well. And Dosu Strike trying to fight with Nerd here, but coming out as the loser, as Nerd just keeps chucking out those cleavers, taking down his health, and now he's actually going aggressive. Now he does not quite want to commit to the dive. But there's 4 members of Evonity Gaming now down in that bottom lane, looking to push this turret. On the top lane, Battle of the Tanks is still going on. Tonic Wave does land onto lock, 90 calibers away. Kanshansky coming in from the side, taking a bit of poke from Death Faction.
Yeah, they are going to be happy with that, though. Dragon respawns in just under 5 seconds, so they're going to try and push this out, or rather force maybe Blues or somebody back to base, and then go straight for the Dragon. Hook actually.
Oh, Hook lands onto lock. That's the Mega Inferno Bomb. He explodes immediately. And that is a kill for Death Faction. It's actually a shutdown. And Kanshansky lands the cocoon onto Gregorian, goes aggressive onto him, and has to run away with the help of Lulu's medallion.
Nerd only just gets pushed off that top lane. Dosu Strike has to burn both the Subjugate and his Ignite to stop that push. We do actually now see the blue team trying to go full aggression. Geetsy does get kicked by...
Oh, tries to jump over the wall and has to flash in the end. Lands a spear onto Ziggs, taking him quite low. Able to survive this one, but has to burn her flash.
Evonity may be attempting the dragon right here. They are attempting it, but I think it's going to easily be counted out. Bluezor is sat right there, basically saying, I'm going
That's
to...
Sonic Wave. He goes in, smites it away, and will get to safety with a lantern. And you have called it.
Might War's currently going to Bluezor, and they definitely needed that right now. They are still massively behind in gold comparative to Evonity Gaming. They are just under 7,000 behind at 19 minutes. That dragon is going to do some work, but nowhere near enough. They need to get another good fight like that, where they can catch out Lock, and they can actually force Evonity away, and basically land more CC. Pick up some more kills.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do that. Meanwhile, Nerd has made the top lane his new home. It's been a while since he moved away from that one, with his ultimate nicely sustaining him up. Every time he goes low, he's going to burn that one, and now Kanshansky comes in to deal some damage, to deal some aggression, to deal some pressure onto Dosu Strike. But Lee, Sin, and Ziggs are also in the vicinity. That just means, though, that Nidalee can push down that middle inhibitor turret, deal some damage to it, and of course it's going to regenerate now. But still, it's a nice thing to have. The rest...
Definitely. The thing with Nerd being so focused on the top lane right now is the fact that he has that teleport.
Kanshansky in trouble. 3 members of Death Faction are onto him. Has to burn his flash to get away from that one. Mega Inferno Bomb coming through from Ziggs, at least then taking the lantern to safety. In the bottom lane, Lock's just
trying to push the bottom lane against Sefun as well.
Oh, there's the flash in from him. He wants to go aggressive onto him. Barrier has been burned, and he will be able to pick up the kill. And then the top lane, another engagement goes down. As Nerd gets Dragons raged back. There's the hook landing onto him. Celestial is able to pick up Lee Sin here. Nerd taken down by Gregorian. Kanshansky now has to run away, using his repel to get himself to safety. But they trade 1 for 1 up in that top lane. Lots of low health bars for Death Faction, though. But Evonity Gaming are moving away.
Well, good engage by Sefun in the bottom lane, to be sure. He had completed that last Whisper, whereas at the time, the Phantom Dancer hadn't been picked up by Locke, so he had way more damage, and he realised that. Went straight in, picked up the kill, and managed to save his turret from that aggression. And he's now aggressing himself. He's not going to be able to take that inner turret, but he's definitely going to be able to push that lane quite nicely.
He's going to be indeed. 6,000 gold between those 2 teams. 22 minutes into the game. Death Faction, while they are still behind, at least the deficit has not really increased over the past few minutes. They have been at 6,000 to 7,000 gold for a while now. If they can keep it that way until the late game, where gold really doesn't make a difference anymore, they might be able to take this game back into their clutches. As it stands, though, Evonity Gaming is a formidable opponent to them, and they are doing everything to make sure that they will be the ones, in the end, to pick up the win and advance to the finals.
The only thing that's currently lacking, in my opinion, for Death Faction Multigaming is the fact that they don't really have a pure tank at this stage. Trundle's been speccing more into damage in the early game, trying to go for that Blade of the Ruin King. After his first death, I don't think he should have gone and focused on that damage so much. He should have gone for some magic resist, because it would have reduced the damage he's taken from Geetsy, reduced the damage he's taken from Kenshansky. All of the damage from Nerd, from his abilities at least, is magic as well, so that would reduce the damage coming in from there. Now that he has a blade and not an amazing amount of health, he can't do too much with it.
That's true. In the bottom lane, Geetsy going very low as collateral damage has been used to hook his land, and the Mega Inferno Bomb will be able to finish him off. And now you have to retreat from this one, as Lee Sin comes in from the side as well. Bomb lands onto Kenshansky, he's going very low. 90 caliber does land onto Lee Sin, but he just flashes it back in. In the meanwhile, Deathstrike on the top lane going aggressive onto Nerd as well. They are just in full-on assault mode right now, but Deathstrike will have to move away. In the bottom lane, though, Evonity Gaming have managed to evade the aggression coming out from Death Faction.
Yeah, Geetsu is the only one to fall. Very, very good sentence coming out from Gregorian. Allowed the Mega Inferno Bomb multiplexer to fly across and finish off Geetsy after the burst had come out from Sephun, who at this point is currently settling a Bloodthirster, a Last Whisper, and a Zeal. So Zeal quite likely to go to the static shiv, I would say, because Graves is quite AoE focused as an AD carry, apart from his auto attacks, of course, but unfortunately, AoE auto attacks is maybe a little bit OP.
Jinx.
Oh wait, Jinx. Well,
yes.
I stand by my statement. You know what? I stand by my statement with that.
Okay, so that's a statement indeed. Jinx is OP.
As a Lucian player, she is one of the AD carries I don't particularly like to fight. I'll say that much.
Well, yeah, fair enough. It is quite strong, yes. Nerd now getting aggressive on here by Desu. Strike burns his ultimate, but look at the damage coming out from him. And there's the subjugate, but Nerd will just be able to sustain through everything that Desu Strike puts onto him, and now deal the damage back onto him with his AoE damage. And Desu Strike actually has to burn his frozen domain to get away from that one, and burn the flash. And here comes Nidalee,
well,
looking for the dive, jumping in, picking up the kill with another auto attack. Technically a spear, but actually not.
Yeah. It's one of her lesser spears. I feel like a normal auto attack spear is maybe not OP enough to pick up kills with that kind of grace and poise, etc. They did manage to pick up the inner turret in the top lane, however.
That's true.
Didn't forget that. 4 more seconds until the dragon respawns, and we do see 3 members of Evonity sat there ready to go. Does look like they are going to go for that. We do see 3 members sat there for Death Faction Multigaming though. And Gitsy is going to try and stop Blue Azor from trying to go for that steal again.
Oh, there's the safeguard in from Lee Sin trying to steal away, but he gets whimsied. Wild Growth used onto Lock as Sephun comes in from the side trying to deal some damage. Lee Sin goes back in and actually manages to steal it away once more. Gets taken down by Elise here, but Nerd may be in trouble. Or no, actually who's in trouble here? Spear lands onto Gregorian and he goes down as well. Multiplaxer actually flashing in to pick up the kill onto Mundo as well. We'll pick up the lantern and get to safety. 2-for-1 trade in favor of Evonity Gaming so far. But Kenshansky flashing in, wanting to land that cocoon. Not quite managing to, but Geetsy is going to jump onto Multiplexer and potentially attempt another spear onto Gregorian. It will not quite land, but they will be able to pick up this bottom inner turret. And the dragon... No, the dragon actually was smited away, yeah.
Blue Azor doing very good work, stealing away both of those last 2 dragons. It is doing work, as I've said, but it's not doing enough. The gold lead is actually slipping in favour of Evonity Gaming. They are now 9,000 almost ahead. It's only Blue Azor and Gregorian at the moment. We do see Sephun coming out to help as well, but the inhibitor turret is likely to fall.
Oh, there it goes.
No, that was actually the top lane outer.
Oh.
Now it goes.
Now it goes. Kanshansky getting our grip upon. Will be able to get away with his repel, or will it? No, the Sonic Wave does land, and Lucian immediately goes in. There's the Wild Girl out of Lulu to save his life, and they turn the aggression around onto him. Will the Cocoon land? In the meanwhile, Nerd has now moved in the front lines, dealing a lot of damage to everyone. Loser is going to go down here. No, he manages the Dragon Rage away, but that's a flash in from Locke. He will not be able to land the final auto attack. Look at that. This is crazy. Sepun getting taken down here. Ziggs picking up Lulu as they are all so low. Locke and Kanshansky will be able to pick up by a single bomb, or once the Mega Inferno bomb is back up, they will be able to pick that one up as well. Nerd getting hooked in by the Death Sentence. They will be able to pick that one up as well. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Death Fraction.
Great counter engage right there. We saw Desert Strike come in, and he actually managed to utilize Subjugate to allow Nerd to die. Nerd has a lot of armor, a lot of magic resist now, stole enough away that Multiplexer could kill them with a couple of bombs.
Geetsy in trouble as Lee Sin finds him and jumps onto him, jumps away, but into Desu Strike's face, and that's another kill for Death Faction.
Yeah, bomb to the face. I think that's basically Zig's opinion on everyone. You know what this Nedley needs? More bombs. You know what this Lee Sin needs? More bombs. I imagine that's probably just Zig's thought on everything. It's like Victor. What do you think this guy needs? More robot.
Yeah, more robot. And more guns, more bullets is what Jinx probably thinks. More turrets is what Death Faction thinks, and so they get to work and pick up the middle outer turret here. 3-7 in turrets now. They managed to get a 9,000 gold deficit back into a slightly less menacing 6,000 gold deficit, but it does not mean it is not menacing. It is still, but in the past few fights, Death Faction actually able to show that they are still a team to be reckoned with.
They're starting to get some good tank coming up from Bluzor. I mean, he's gone for the Locket of the Iron Solari. He's gone for the Spirit of the Ancient Golem, which is not particularly surprising pickup. Most junglers do tend to go for it. But I'm interested to see what he'll go for next. Maybe he goes for a Randuin's Omen because, as I've said, Desert Strike's not focusing enough on tankiness. He's gotten the Blade of the Ruin King finally, does have the Spectre's Cal, but now he's gone for a Sheen, as if he's heading towards a Trinity Force. He needs to be focusing more on tank now. Unfortunately, the meta says that top lanes basically need to be tanks. Trundle may be a character that can just about get away with it with the Subjugate, but I don't think he gets away with it enough.
No, he doesn't. Every time he goes aggressive onto Nerd, Nerd goes back aggressive onto him. He just pops his ultimate and is right back to full health, while Desu Strike usually comes out as the loser in whatever battle they may have had. But now, Evonity are now pushing down that bottom lane, clearing out the minions. Death Faction trying to do the same and keep them away from their exposed inhibitor.
Yeah, Evonity wanting to siege up and take the inhibitor, as you say. The wave clear coming out from Death Faction is incredibly strong, bouncing bombs, especially when you've got a Death Cap, a Void Staff, and an Unholy Grail sat on Multiplexer with that Ziggs.
Cocoon lands onto Sepun. Spear does as well. He's going very low. And so, Death Faction is forced to move away, give up their inhibitor. Or will they? The hook does land onto Seltzker. He has to flash away and use the Valkyrie onto himself. IWG Nerd now in the battle with Trundle. Lulu is the first one to die in this engagement, and now Geetsy gets taken down as well here by this Graves. He's dealing so much damage right now. He's back to full health, even though he was the one who got caught out in the beginning. It's another 2-for-1 in favor of Death Faction, and they're still looking for some kills here as the Sonic Wave lands onto Nerd. Luthor goes in, but takes a lot of aggression in return. There's the repel from Elise, trying to save her life, but she will come down right where she came up when she went up. And so it's a double kill for Graves. They did pick up the inhibitor, but they lost 4 members.
Very, very great counter-engage play coming out right here. The moment Multiplexer said, hey, I'm going to throw this on, Gregorian instantly managed to land the hook onto Celsior. Celsior died, and he managed to follow up with a couple of other kills as well. And then the chase down play coming out from Sepun was very strong as well. Sepun, interestingly, still only sat on tier 1 Boots of Speed. Meanwhile, he's built up Static Shiv, Last Whisper, and Bloodthirster, which are core build, and he's also got himself a Cloak of Agility, which is more than likely to go towards that Infinity's Edge to try and go for a bit more damage. We'll say a tad more damage.
Yeah, a tad more damage indeed. He has been doing so well in the past few fights. He's sitting on 7 kills now, which is actually the most kills in the game. And he is a force to be reckoned with for sure. They will only need to focus him down more. Death Faction able to bring down the gold deficit to just 5,000. We need to remember, they were at 10,000 at one point. Hook does land onto Nerd in the middle lane while he's trying to keep Death Faction away from the Baron, but Evonity are not going to go for it. They thought about it for a moment, actually attacked it a couple of times, and then went away as soon as Death Faction showed up. Because history shows Death Faction can put up good fights, and Evonity really has to watch out which fights to pick and which fights to not pick if they want to win.
Yeah, the steal is coming out on those 2 dragons by Blue Azor, very, very strong. If they do want to go for this Baron, which it almost looks like they do, they are actually going to start it off. They do have to worry about the constant bombs coming out from Multiplexer. And we already see Blue Azor going off to that right-hand side to try and go over the wall for the steal.
This is the steal of his life. Geezy able to take down Gregorian. Now it is important to get the steal. He jumps in. Will he get it? Yes, he will! But he dies for it. And Ziggs forced back to the base. That is why he was not present. And they actually lost a Nexus turret. But still, Lee Sin, so proficient at smiting, gets 2 dragons and a Baron. He's a wonderful stealer. But unfortunately... Sorry?
It almost looked like Evonity were trying to hold off on that Baron to wait until they could try and smite.
They're going in here. Look. Takes the wild growth out of Lulu. Managing to survive there, but the aggression was definitely there. Death Faction did lose a Nexus turret trying to contest that Baron, but that obviously means that they have the Baron now, as Lee Sin did manage to get the beautiful steal off. Vanity, though, they moved down to Dragon, and Lee Sin is not going to be able to steal this one away because he is just too far off to the side. Anyway, though, I feel that this Baron will do a lot for Death Faction.
Yeah, I agree entirely, but we look across at the AD carry, and that's a very interesting pick. Zephyr has decided to forego the Berserker's Greaves, as most AD carries would normally take. He's actually gone for the Mercury strategy to try and protect himself against some of the CCing out from Evonity right now. We can see there's quite a bit of CC. You've got the cocoons from Elise. You've got a lot of magic damage from her as well. Spears from Nidalee, of course. That's going to mitigate some of the damage from them. That said, if he gets caught out, I don't think Mercury Treads are going to be enough to save him anyway. It's like, yes, there's a little bit of reduced duration on stuff. He's still an AD carry. He may be a Graves, so, as I've said before, the tankiest, sarcastic quotes, of the AD carries. He's still definitely not tanky enough to survive if he does get caught out. And that's why he's sticking with his team, so smart play definitely across the board right there for him.
Hey, he's doing a good job. Also has this Baron buff right now, so that's going to boost his damage quite considerably. And we start to approach the time of the game where items get completed and gold gets less and less relevant. And the closer we get to that point, the more Death Faction is actually able to get back into the game. What looked like a complete stomp just 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, is now a fairly even and close game. Even if they're still behind 6,000 gold, they're sitting on the Baron right now. They have won the last 2 fights down at their inhibitor, and it has respawned right now, so technically they're back into the game. The thing they need to do right now is to get some turrets for themselves, as we do see a little bit of a quarrel here in the middle lane between those 2 teams, but neither team really wanting to go for it.
In fact, his Desu Strike is actually getting away with his not very tanky build right now. Because Blue Azor has kind of taken up the mantle of the tank, he has gotten lucky of the Iron Solari. He has gotten himself a Spectre's Cowl as well, which can go towards a Spirit Visage, which can boost his sustain a bit, or of course the Banshee's Veil to stop him from being engaged upon. But now that the Trinity Force and the Blade of the Ruin King are on Desu Strike, he really, really needs to finish off Spirit Visage, which would be the smarter pick, I would say, with that Spectre Scout. And he does need to get more armor.
Oh, Geetsy getting caught out here! And there she goes, exploding. That is not a good positioning from her. And the death timer is in the 50 seconds right now. Death faction, if they want to go for it, they could. Baron's still on Ziggs. Baron's still on Graves. There's the minions, and they're going to aggress onto this turret. And there's only nothing Evonity Gaming can do as the damage comes out onto them. Will they be able to get will they be able to pick up the game here, Death faction? Kenchovsky also almost going down. Has to back away as well. That makes it a 5v3. Nerd, now the main tank of Evonity Gaming in the middle. Blues are actually going in onto Celsius, trying to pick him up. Managing to safeguard away. Hook lands onto Nerd. Multiplexer able to pick up Lock, so that's going to be another pickup for them as well. Another major damage dealer. But now they're starting to get very low as Nerd manages to sustain himself back up and just run into them with his AoE damage activated. That's the pillar, though. He's going dangerously low. Will they be able to pick him up here? It's definitely going to be a middle inhibitor. That's a Mega Inferno Pop. He is able to pick up the kill. That's the main tank gone for Evonity Gaming. But that faction going very low themselves. They have to back away from this one. But I would be very, very happy with what I have just picked up if I was in Death Faction's shoes. They picked up the middle inhibitor.
Very, very good fight coming out by them. You saw them basically force out a prolonged engage, basically. Because Sephun has considerable damage on relatively low cooldowns later on, he was dealing great damage throughout the fight. The turret went low. They went past the turret to try and kill Locke. They killed Locke, came back for the turret. Nerd went in. The Pillar of Ice came out. They took down the inhibitor, then they turned on to him. Mega Inferno Bomb came off cooldown, killed Nerd, and ended the game in a very decisive manner.
Not quite the game just yet, but it is looking to be more likely than ever. As the gold lead is now 3,000 only after coming down from 10,000. They've picked up the middle inhibitor. That's going to be so much map pressure for Death Faction. And for a moment there, it actually did look like they would be able to pick up the game. Nerd is just too strong right now. They were able to take him down, but by the time they managed to do that, they were already way too low to continue pushing. And he managed to keep them off long enough for Geetsy to join back into the fight. Still, it was a great fight from Death Faction, and it all started with catching Geetsy out.
It did indeed, and Geetsy got absolutely melted at the start of the fight, killed by the Mega Inferno Bomb, 2 turret push, then the fight happened. So when Geetsy came back up, he did have presence, but didn't pick up kills from it.
Yes, and now Sephun has to watch out here as he does meet Nerd, and the rest of Evonity Gaming is in the vicinity as well. This is a tense standoff between those two teams right now. Who will come out on top?
Going so low after taking a step from Geetsy as well. Does, of course, have Ravenant's Death Cap, does have a Senu's Embrace. Looked like Blue Azor was going to try and go onto Nerd there, but no, actually Multiplexer does take the ace in the hole to the face, and they are going to fall straight back to their inhib turret to protect it. Should Evonity try and go for the siege once again?
No, they do, but the problem that they have right now is that they have to deal with those super minions coming out, because obviously their own inhibitor is gone, and that's going to slow down their pushing and sieging attempts quite considerably, because you need to devote a lot of damage to super minions to be able to take them down. And that could give Death Faction the one moment that they need to go for a favorable engagement. Will they go for it? Medallion has been burned by Evonity, but by Death Faction as well. And here's the fight. Nerd in the middle of all of them. If they are able to take him down right as the fight starts, this could be very huge for Death Faction. They're still following him. He has activated his ultimate, but the Ignite is burning away on him. It's now gone, so he will be able to just tame himself back up, but that was a very promising attempt from Death Faction. They almost managed to get the Mundo.
Yeah, almost didn't win any prizes though. Sephun taken incredibly low by the ace in the hole. A lot of ultimates burned just to try and kill Nerd. They are going to try and go back out onto him.
Still going to go onto him, and Geetsy able to pick up Graves with a spear, and now that Graves is gone, that's a huge damage dealer for Death Faction. But Nerd is going low, very low as well. Needle, you actually have to flash away from Desu Strike. The hook lands onto Nerve. They're able to pick up the kill here, and that should probably prevent them from doing anything. In the meanwhile, though, the rest of Evonity Gaming are able to pick up Baron Nashor while Nerd stalls them in their own jungle. This could spell doom for Death Faction.
Quite possibly, but I do have to wait 50 seconds for Nerd to respawn, and he will not have the Baron buff. That extra regeneration that would have made Mundo almost unkillable is not going to be present in that fight. He does have very strong items, but he has yet to complete his build. Absolutely no damage right there, because Mundo did not build damage. Mundo builds what he pleases.
Mundo build what he pleases, indeed. So yes, it's a very crazy back and forth, and it's definitely not something I would have expected from how the game went in the early stages. It's gonna be Death Faction picking up this next dragon here, but gold has pretty much become irrelevant at this point, as almost everyone is on 5 items right now. You already see the first full builds come out here for Ziggs, for example. And this is gonna be so crucial. As soon as we hit the 80,000 gold mark, well, where both teams should have full builds on all of their champions, except maybe their supports and or junglers, it's going to be so important to just get the right fight, because as soon as we hit that mark, whoever wins a fight will probably be able to pick up the game, and this game could go to either of these teams right now.
Oh, I'm tempted to say that Desu Strike is being incredibly canny right here. He's actually going for the Guardian Angel, so he's getting tanky, but definitely not in the way I would have expected. Nerd pushing out the top lane, then teleporting bottom, trying to push out all the waves, make sure that Death Faction can't go for a solid engage without fear of heavy damage being dealt to their turrets or inhibitors. All of their lanes are down to inhib turrets or open inhibs right now, and Death Faction really need to just push down mid if they win a fight.
Yep. So now it is EG pushing down this mid lane. Nerd pushing down in the bottom lane as well. Looking to get that exposed inhibitor down. Evonity Gaming are still sitting on a Baron, so they have the advantage here. But it is actually Death Faction who decide to go in. Mega Inferno Bomb coming through. There's the flash in from Desu Strike, trying to take down Locke, but she gets Wild Growth, and she will be able to get away from this one while burning her barrier too. Will Evonity be able to take down Death Faction here? It does look like it. Desu Strike going very low. There's the box, but Kanshansky in the middle of 4 members of Death Faction now as well. He's able to walk away just by the side. Nerd now having joined the fight as well. He is in Bluzor's face, forcing the flash out of him. Gets hooked in by Thresh. That baby actually helped him instead of keeping him back. Throws out another cleaver, but everyone from Death Faction manages to survive. Still, Evonity Gaming are in the same position, only that they are on the offensive right now. Death Faction actually managing to go back to the fountain and heal themselves up with those home guard boots that most of them have picked up. Actually, everyone from Death Faction is sitting on home guard boots right now, and so is everyone from Evonity Gaming, save for Caitlyn, who has not enchanted her boost yet, but that's probably going to be a home guard enchantment as well. So Death Faction, again, able to push back Evonity with the Baron, while they really want to close out the 5 minutes in. But it looks like this could go on for a while.
Evonity dealing very heavy damage, but Death Faction do seem to keep finding just the right moments to try and put down their escape abilities, and in that last fight it really did show. They managed to all survive, no matter how low they were. No one actually fell.
No one fell. 19-19 remains the score in this game. We're approaching 80,000 gold. Everyone is slowly getting their full builds together, and then it's just a matter of coordination, of positioning, and of course of finding the right engagement. Baron is obviously going to be a very large factor here as well, because once you have 6 items, he is going to be the only way to actually boost your damage above your opponents.
Yep, right now we are seeing Desu Strike just trying to farm out as much as possible, trying to finish off that Guardian Angel so he can be an absolute menace for Evonity Gaming in this fight. If he can get onto Locke, that's a lot of damage down, and a fair amount of magic resist has been built so far by the members of Death Faction, so Ken Shonsky's damage and Gates' is slightly mitigated, but you can never fully mitigate the damage with it.
It's the whole Sethune going very, very low. Gregorian catching the ace in the hole for him. That would have surely taken him down. But it's Evonity Gaming again on the offensive. Nerd in the front. Mega Inferno Bomb getting thrown out, taking lots of members low. Nerd gets hooked in. Will they want to engage on this one? They're taking him quite low, actually. Has to burn his ultimate. Is also ignited, so a good chunk of that ultimate will not work to its fullest effect. But again, Death Faction managed to push away Evonity Gaming again at that bottom inhibitor, and again they catch Nerd, take him down quite low. But now he's sitting on a Guardian Angel as well, and Locke gets hooked. This might be a very huge thing. Nerd in the middle of Death Faction here as the fight breaks out. Locke in the back line managing to survive thanks to the wild growth, but Multiplex are able to take down Lulu. They burn Nerd's Guardian Angel. Locke's going to be the next target here. Will they be able to pick her up? Geezy, the hook lands onto her. It's going to be a double kill for Zix. They pick up 2 kills. Nerd in the back, up to the top lane, backs away, but still 2 kills over to Death Faction.
And that was a massive fight for Death Faction. You saw them pick up those 2 kills, and once again, for the 3rd time in a row, they saved their inhibitor. It did not fall. Locke turning around, firing the ace in the hole in the direction of Sethune, and basically saying, "Chase me, I dare you." But 40 seconds until the dragon comes back up, and just over 50 until the Baron comes back up. So, Gitzy is going to actually be quite a long way away from the Baron if Death Faction tried to pick it up.
Well, they are right now pushing onto this middle inhibitor turret. Look at how low it goes from just one enchanted auto attack from Ziggs. They're able to pick this one up. It's the 3v5 right now, and Death Faction is there in full force. Could they be able to pick up the game here? Bluzor is just going to go straight for the Nexus turret. The first one goes down. Will they be able to win here? Bluzor now getting aggressed upon here as well, but they just don't care. They're just going to attack the turret here. As Locke goes in, he's getting caught out. He's getting taken down. Bluzor getting down there as well, but the Nexus is exposed. They're able to take it down. Death Faction are able to pick up the win over Evonity Gaming after almost 50 minutes of Ten's game. 22 kills to 20. Bang even on gold. The irony. In the last moments of the game, they are bang even on gold and bang even on turrets. This was one hell of a game. Good game, well played to both.
An immensely stalwart defense coming out from Death Faction Gaming. They defended after wave after wave after wave of minions coming in from Evonity Gaming, and they managed to pick their fight perfectly. They managed to pop the Guardian Angel from Nerd, and they managed to get in onto Locke, onto Geetsy, onto Celsior, and they managed to push out the game after getting those 2 kills. Death timers were far too long for them to have a real effect, and when they were just respawning, the Nexus blew up and took any chances of Evonity Gaming from reaching the final with them.
Yes, so it is going to be Death Faction advancing to the grand finals of this EGL Summoners Cup number 22. But still, we got another game to play, so we can find out who will be their opponent. It is going to be between the 2 teams, Numero Uno and RVN, which is Riven Please. So we haven't seen them so far in today's tournament, on today's stream. And their first course of action upon being streamed is going up against Numero Uno. The question is, are they good enough to take down the Colossi that have been taking Summoners Cups like evil people have been stealing candy from children? Or will they actually be able to take them down and advance to the finals to face Death Faction? That's the question, ladies and gentlemen, and we will answer that question after a short break. As for us, that's been it. It's been very fun. My name has been The Patch. With me casting has been Elthazar. Our next 2 games, or our next 4 games actually, which will be the semifinals and a final best of 3, will be brought to you by Sona and Hindu Man. We thank you very much for tuning in. And no, you're not allowed to go yet, because there are still some awesome games coming up in our semifinals and finals. So stick around. More League of Legends is on its way.